You know, are we to understand that after you told me, you know, you put something in writing, as, you know, this is the law, right? You said this is law, and if you do these things and follow these instructions and complete these requirements, you will gain this benefit and it's permanent. But now you're saying, no, you have to also do these things, whether you're a resident or not, doesn't even matter. So the ability and the right to be able to go back to a place where you're a permanent resident and to go back to your own home, because that's why people get permanent residency, because they want that to either be their home or at some future date be their home. But now, welcome to Frank and Angie's channel, where we discuss the retire early lifestyle, whether it's at home or abroad. Thanks for coming to our channel. Hey everybody, so the retire early lifestyle, right? What it's all about is living the way you want to live, spending your days how you want to spend them, right? And that could include just being in the kitchen, cooking something, anything.
Leftovers, like that.
You know, taking walks in a different city, you know, traveling, going here and there. As you know, we've been abroad 10 years. You know, we wanted to travel the world. We wanted to get out here and see the world, and well, we did that. We moved to Ecuador, brought the family with us. We also took these side trips and went over to Panama, made a couple of videos about Panama. One of them was 3 good reasons not to move to Panama, having spent many years in Ecuador, and then having gone to Panama, we just started noticing certain differences. And then we also made another video called Why I Would Choose Panama over Cuenca, Ecuador. So we were just highlighting the pros and cons of both places, and you know, just we like to tell folks, you know, we don't want to sweep things under the rug, and we want people to know, you know, what it's really like to live somewhere and that kind of thing. Why don't you travel abroad, move abroad? When we were contemplating this thing about going abroad, there was always that unknown factor. You know how when you haven't done it, because we spent like 40 years in the States, never really going anywhere. Well, we took a few vacations to Mexico, you know, a week or two here and there. And of course, we did the vacation thing all over the States too. It's not like we were...
We went to the DR too, and...
Yeah, it's not like we were really unhappy in the States. I mean, we were living the retire early lifestyle in the States for half of that 40 years. So, you know how it is. You wanted to have more excitement in our life. That's where that contentment, you know, that contentment thing that Paul writes about. For those of you that have gotten the travel bug, I guess is what people call it. You know, you just feel like you want to see the world, you want to travel the world. What else is out there? You know, this curiosity thing. I've always had this curious child mind of curiosity. They say that you lose that as you become an adult, but not all of us lose it. So, so we got to thinking, you know what? Since we want to do this with the family, you know, we're going to have like a home base and have somewhere where you're actually situated. And we chose Ecuador. Right, so we figured, you know, there's 200 countries. All right, even if only half of them, right? Shoot, even if only 25% of them are, you know, if something happens and the rest of them become undoable for one reason or another, as things go, you know, Venezuela, Cuba, whatever, this or that, you know, earthquakes or something, whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? There's so many of them, right? We even said that in some of these videos when we came out here. In other words, we were really excited about the freedom of being able to have that many options available in case something didn't work out correctly or right, or we didn't like it. But that was pre-2020, right? Along comes 2020. Now, Panama, getting to this video, they were initially very easy. And some of these places, you want to get residency because you want to be able to not have to sit there and count the days, you know, and if it's easy enough to get, you get it. And then you always have the option of living there, staying there. And Panama was one of those considerations. Panama's got a lot, or had a lot going for it. And it's gone back and forth. I mean, back in the early, 2000s, it was pretty easy to get into. And then when all the crowds started coming, we've talked about this, they raised the stakes. and just made it harder. And of course, all of a sudden, it put the skids on the traffic, all the traffic of people. But Panama is such a small country, and a lot of these places are. Even Ecuador, it's not really, you know, that large a country, 17 million people. And, you know, Panama's like 4 million. So, I mean, you know, these countries are like really pretty micro countries. So it doesn't take much traffic of people to create an atmosphere like, wow, the whole world's breaking the doors down to come here, right? And especially when it's the wealthy of society in many cases, at least, well, I say wealthy of society, of course there's some of that, but of course compared to the, let's say, the local financial structure, you're considered wealthy, okay? You know, people are making $300-400 a month, and even if you make $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, you're considered wealthy, okay? So they went back and forth where it was easy for a while, and then they saw this traffic and got greedy. I say they got greedy because I see it happening in other countries too. Same thing happens. Georgia is one of those countries we'll talk about in a second. Republic of Georgia, not the state in the US. You know, somebody makes a video and thousands of people start showing up. Before things were easy, but now things get real complicated. So they went through that stage, Panama did. Georgia's doing it too. Then they went a few years, maybe around 5 years, 3 years, something like that, where they said, wait a minute, this isn't working. So they ratcheted back all the hoops you had to jump through and made it easy again. Always had Panama in the back of our mind as a permanent place to be. It's a little bit different than Ecuador. Ecuador is quite dry. And for somebody that likes to grow food, Panama's got a lot more rain. It's just a little bit more palatable for, say, maybe some of the younger folks in the family, as far as it looks a little bit like parts of the States in some ways, you know, more so than, you know, maybe Ecuador. And so it's got all those reasons for it to keep it on the back burner. But now things in 2020 have again come up on the front burner with major changes. And it's not just Panama. Georgia's doing it too. We really liked Eastern Europe, we liked Bulgaria, but we liked Georgia even more. We liked the people in Bulgaria. Georgia was a little bit more, it seemed a little bit more, less sterile, let's just say. And it was just fun when it was cheap. So now, you know, are we to understand, I mean, they had the Friendly Nations program where they had a bunch of nations, you know, all over European, first let's just call them developed country passports that people could go in with, into Panama with a small amount of money and be able to get that residency so that you're not counting days and this kind of thing. So now they're saying, all right, even though we've entered into agreement with you and we have given you permanent status, this is what they call it, we've given you permanent status, and this is, and I know a guy in the Philippines this is happening to. This guy in the Philippines is a permanent resident of Philippines. In these countries, they're changing things around. Every few years, they're changing things around, okay? It's fine, it's their country, it's your prerogative, right? But here's the thing. These governments are telling you that they're giving you a permanent status, but then 2020 rolls around and they're saying, well, we don't care that you have permanent status, you're not going to be able to come here. Like in the case of the Philippines, I know a guy who's permanent resident and he even owns property there. And he can't go back to the Philippines. They're not letting foreigners go back, even if they're residents. Panama is saying, whether you're resident or not doesn't matter. You're going to have to get sticks poked up your nose, you know. And Georgia is saying, yeah, that too. And then, you know, we get to say that you have to stay in these hotels for 14 days, whatever. And you got to take sticks up your nose a couple different times just to make sure. And, you know, if something comes up, then you have to go to the hospital. So you have absolutely no jurisdiction over your own body. These tests that are being used are not reliable. A lot of people don't understand and don't know that these tests are not really designed for what they're being used for. The maker apparently, you know, says that of these tests is the one that even says that they were never designed to do this, and they're not reliable and necessarily accurate. So here you are playing Russian roulette with jurisdiction over your body over this issue. So I'm saying that 2020, you know, are we to understand that after you told me, you know, you put something in writing, as, you know, this is the law, right? You said this is law, and if you do these things and follow these instructions and complete these requirements, you will gain this benefit and it's permanent. But now you're saying, no, you have to also do these things. Whether you're a resident or not doesn't even matter. So the ability and the right to be able to go back to a place where you're a permanent resident and to go back to your own home, because that's why people get permanent residency, because they want that to either be their home or at some future date be their home. But now on top of that, some of these places, including the Philippines and Panama, have revoked. They're going back. They're reneging on their, their simplified residency, and they're making it hard again. Panama's also raising the stakes once again, and now you have to be like a guy that wants to put hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line just to get this residency and all. And this is the supply and demand thing that causes these countries to do this. The bottom line is a person to understand that after going, through all of the requirements and following the law and gaining a benefit, that let's say somebody, a head of household, does that and maybe they have adult children, sons, daughters, whatever. Maybe they weren't ready at the time while it was easy. Now you've changed it and made it harder to where the rest of the family doesn't qualify. So what you're really doing is you're putting up all these barriers to where families can't really move to Panama anymore. And even for those that are residents, they can't even go back to their own country unless they submit to something. They don't, I'm sure a lot of people will submit to it, but there's a lot of people that won't. Now, Panama had a really, really rough lockdown too. They had 6 straight months where people couldn't even fly in and out. People were stuck in their own apartments. And I know a lot of these people are retirees and they get checks, but it really harmed the locals and their economy. And and that's an environment that you would have been in. And I've seen some things happening there that I don't even want to talk about in this video. But that brings me to this: how stable are these programs when opportunistic changes are made to what are supposed to be stable legal programs, something that you should be able to rely on. And apparently you can't rely on them. And so, jogging back our memory, going back to when we were first looking at doing our retire early lifestyle abroad for the fun and the excitement of it, the wanderlust and all that, and then coming upon 2020 and saying, wow, these governments are just changing the rules all over the place and even reneging on their own promises, previous promises, because in a sense it is reneging, because you're putting up new requirements that weren't part of the deal to begin with. Oh, no, we don't care. You're a resident, we don't care. You got to put sticks under your nose and give us jurisdiction over your body on health matters. So what are people to do? I know that if we were still back in the States considering this, we'd be like, no, we don't want to do this now. Why would we go through all that trouble to meet all of these legal requirements, to then just have them renege on us, change the rules midstream for some reason that we don't agree with, because we know better, we don't want to engage in for one reason or another? All right, so how do we go forward? How do we go forward? Well, the encouraging part, the silver lining, is some of these countries are ratcheting back. And that's where the encouraging part comes in, is that people need to start voting with their feet and understanding that this kind of reneging on legal promises is unstable. It's unacceptable. And when you go to these social media groups, expat groups and stuff, unfortunately there's an awful lot of delete, where you can't speak out on them. Even if you're a minority, I urge you and encourage you to do what you can, push back, speak out, and inform people that these kinds of things are not acceptable. I just had a conversation with an accountant in Panama. I said, look, if a person is a permanent resident, they don't, for one reason or another, they don't want to take this test, what can we do? Oh, well, you just take it, you don't have to take it at the airport, you can take it before you leave 48 hours. I said, no. Let me be clear. I don't want to take it at all. Oh, no, can't do that. Doesn't matter if you're a resident. All right, so you just got blocked out of your own home. You know, I do consider Panama a second home. I mean, for many people, Panama is a second home. You know, that's what the permanent residency is all about. Having the option to, at some point, go there. What do you think about governments that, you know, renege on their promises and use strong-arm tactics to introduce new requirements into what was already established in the law? How do you feel about that? A little bit flaky, don't you think? I mean, how would you feel about relocating to a government that does that? I mean, that's like not really trustworthy, right? Well, anyway, I hope I've inspired you in some way and encouraged you to see that we have the ability to make a change in this world and make a change for the better and not submit to fear, you know, just going along with the crowd. Thanks for coming to our channel. Thanks for watching.